All right, today we're going to be working on percent equations. You should have done this last year, and it was when we were working with proportions. I like to do is over of equals the percent over 100. Some people do part over whole equals percent over 100. It doesn't matter to me which way you decide to do it, but I would recommend choosing one of those ways and sticking with that. That way you can understand it a little bit better. Let's see. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and highlight information as I go along. That way I can color code it and you can kind of see where I'm getting my information from. So when it says what percent of 250 is 57, when it says what percent, I am talking about the percent right here. And the question is what. So when I'm saying what, I'm actually going to put the X or N or whatever letter you are deciding to use in for my variable here. Then when it says of 250, the of goes down in the denominator, so 250, and then the is part says is 57. All right, so I'm going to put 57 right here. Okay, so in order to solve this, what we are going to do is cross multiply and divide. So I'm going to multiply 57 times 100, and that is going to give me 5,700 equals 250x. All right, then I'm going to divide by 250 on both sides. And you may use a calculator. I recommend using your Desmos calculator because that is the one that you get to use on iLearn. So if you go to Desmos Scientific Calculator or Google that, you will be able to pull that up. So 5,700 divided by 250, and we end up getting 22.8. And remember, we're solving for the percent. So that is how we get that answer. So 22.8%. And this is where our use of number sense comes in handy to make sure our answer makes sense. We have 57 out of 250. So we know we don't have more than 100%. And if we kind of round 57 to 50, 50 would go into 250 approximately 5 times. And 50 is 20% of 250. So it's a little bit more because it's 57. So 22.8% does have a reasonable answer. All right. Our next one here, 18 is 28% of what number? So whenever I'm talking about is, it says 18 is, so that's where I'm going to put my 18 in the is spot of my proportion. Then it says 28%. Anytime you see the percent sign, it is automatically the percent. It is not any other part of this. It's not the of, it is not the is. If you see the percent sign, it is the percent. And then the last part here is going to be the of, and that's what it says, of what number. So that is our question. So since that is our question, what we are going to do is we, again, are going to cross multiply and divide. So 18 times 100 is 1,800, and x times 28 is 28x. We kind of drop the percent sign at that point. Then we we divide by 28 because the opposite of multiplication is division. So 1,800, and we divide by 28, and we end up getting approximately 64.29 for our x value. Now, again, does our answer make sense? That's what we need to check. So we are saying 18 is 28% of 100, so we would want it to be a little bit, we know that our of part needs to be much bigger than our is part, which it is. And the reason for that is because 18 out of 64.29 gives us 28%. So that's a little less than a quarter. If we multiplied 18 18 by 4, we end up getting 72, which is kind of close to 64, but we also know that it's a little more than 25%. So that's why we ended up getting 64 in that case. All right, and our last check here, what is? So our question is the what is. It says what is. So is, in this case, is going to be our x value, or our variable, whatever letter you choose. And it says 150%, so that is our percent. And then our last part is the of 45. Okay, so before I do any math, I notice that I'm working with 150%, which is greater than 100, which means that my x value has to be greater than my denominator by 1.5 times. So 45 doubled is 90, so I know it's going to be between about 60 and 90. Obviously not 90 because that'd be double, and I'm only doing 1.5. But I do need to make sure in my answer that my x is bigger than 45, and that is because 150 is bigger than 100. So I'm going to cross multiply and divide. So 100 times x is 100x. It is not letting me write. There we go. And then 45 times 150 gives us 6,750, or 6,750. And then we are going to divide by 100. So when we divide by 100, we end up getting 67.5, and that is equal to our x value, and that is our solution. We know our solution makes sense. We can't guarantee it's correct, but we do know that it makes sense, and the reason is because it is greater than 45, which we knew 150 is greater than 100, so x has to be greater than 45, which is our denominator. All right, there's going to be a practice quiz for you to work on for today's virtual assignment. Make sure you do that. It is going to be graded for correct answers, so make sure you are trying your best. And as a helpful hint, make sure you are using a calculator as well. You are allowed to use a calculator on that. Hope you have a great day. If you have questions, make sure you email me, contact me, and I am happy to help. Take care. Have a good one.